Hey internet, it's Yasu, and welcome to a Minecraft video. Today, we are doing a Minecraft classic. Good old-fashioned 10-second, 10-minute, and 10-hour building challenge. To get us started, we need to figure out what we're building, which is going to draw us to decide what I'm going to build. I'm going to spin a wheel. Gotta put some gambling into it. Ooh, give me something good, give me something good, give me something good. Sweet, yeah, I can work with the lab. Alright, now that we got that picked, let's get into this. Now, this one was tough. I kind of just picked blocks and hoped I'd make something. But it turned out pretty okay, I'd say. Okay, so like, not the best. I had water in my inventory, so I put this in the cold like that. You know, it would have been beautiful. It's a nice little lab setup. But no, I failed. I mean, this is lab-like for sure. I mean, for 10 seconds, I can't complain. But I got the liquid getting drained to the cold net, which goes in there. I mean, it makes sense. It just, I wish I could have done more. But let's get on to the 10-minute build. Now, with this 10-minute build, I have no clue where I'm gonna go with it. But let's head into it and figure it out. Let's go. 10 minutes was tough. I'd argue harder than 10 seconds because you don't have time to think, but you have more time to build. Now, for this one, the only thing I could think about was an iconic lab, and therefore I'm using sandstone and red sandstone to kind of give a weathered look, like it's been out in the sun for a while. Here I'm adding windows, specifically light gray stained glass, to look tinted, but also kind of look sun bleached again. And then I added some side view mirrors because that's important. I'm also adding stairs to the window panes to make them look more natural. And to wrap off the outside, I'm adding a nice yellow sand layer and then half slabs to give it a more round look. And then of course, can't forget the roof racks. I mean, come on, those are iconic. And then I'm using some slabs and some stairs on the back to round it out and make it look, well, rounder. Now I'm adding just a little bit more rounding and a little bit more details to the front of this slab, and then some stairs over the wheels to make it better. Yeah. And here I'm trying to figure out where I want to place the roof access because it's kind of awkward. Finishing this out, I added a door with a step to get in, obviously, and now I'm adding storage around the lab so you can store all your lab equipment. There's definitely some signs, yeah, oh boy, I love signs. Nah, okay, focus. Then here I'm adding buttons on the side to mimic the light reflectors. I'm adding the black under the trapdoors so that they look void and hollow instead of being just on the edge of something. And then to round it out, I'm adding a ladder on the back, which I'm using iron bars for, and then I'm adding this so that it looks like something's being cooked inside of the van. Now this one, I think we know exactly what I was going for this one. I mean, it's one of the most iconic labs of all time. Sure, I didn't get an interior done, but I mean, I cut that. I mean, it looks pretty okay. We've got like weird lights on the side that they have. We got the little drain that you use for sewage and all that jazz. Storage compartments. I mean, it's a van. I get it. It's lacking the lab. I think it is the lab. I mean, honestly, like if you think of labs, this may be one of the first ones that comes to mind. I know that vans are lopsided, but it just feels very awkward, kind of a thing. Maybe it also could be this floating thing here. I'm not gonna do this, obviously. Does that look better? Yeah, that looks better. Too bad I didn't think about that. So, anyways, and this back's bland as heck, man. Like, I could have put something there. Well, of course, you know what this means. On to the 10-hour lab. I lied. We're doing an hour first because I needed some padding in the video. But I'm also not going to say anything because 10 second, 10 minute, 1 hour, 10 hours sounds awful. Anyways, for this one, I wanted to break it up into 3 sections. An entrance, a main, and a lab section. I'm using iron blocks to give more of an industrial look, obviously. Making it look a little more abstract, less like reformed. I'm adding a little black and gold section in the corner just to give a nice accent wall. I'm filling in the roof here. And the walls, obviously. I'm just filling in the walls. I try not to use any world edit in these first few sections because it'd be kind of unfair. I'm gonna go over here. I'm putting some lights in the ceiling so we can see. I'm using levers because it's nice. It's grounding out the corners some. I'm going up here to this part here. This is the viewing area, right? And then of course, go out here. We gotta have a nice view of the outside, so the test subjects don't feel awkward. And I'm adding a slight little roof to it to, round it out and make it seem so I can contain all my stuff. It doesn't go over the edges. That makes sense. I'm filling in the floor, obviously. Again, iron blocks. I wanted to keep this very industrial, very sterile kind of a vibes. So I use a lot of iron blocks and gold to accent. Once again, filling in the floor here with iron blocks. I mean, this is just such an original lab, honestly. I've never seen a lab anything like this ever. Then after doing that, I wanted to add some more accents, so I use some gold around the edges and then in the middle just to make it look nicer. Some red carpet, again, adds texture, adds color. And with 10 minutes left, I added some small details, just some extra small things. I forgot to do the inside here, so I'm quickly getting this done with some nice red and orange McDonald's colors, And yeah, I had 2 minutes to spare, so that was pretty crazy. Okay, for real this time. Now, for this one, all I knew going in was I wanted something space-like, like something you just see on another planet. So I started off by making a big circle, massive. I think this is 42 by 4, 42 radius. Either way. And then I started making offshoots on the sides, trying to make just other subsections. I liked having one not having a tunnel, one with tunnel. I think it just added a nice difference between the two of them, kind of a vibe. And then I was like, okay, this isn't enough. I need something else. So I added this big square in the back. Okay, I guess a big rectangle. But that's all I really thought. Now, from here on out, I tried building up the walls first. I started on the entrance area and realized, wow, all of that is making this so bad by itself. So then I was like, you know what, let me figure out brushes. I've never worked with brushes before, so I kind of just messed around with that. If you look here, I kind of just raised the entire ground for a little bit. It wasn't that good. But then I hit the nail on the head with this one. I figured out how to raise the walls as if I'm commanding them from the ground. It was crazy. Either way, that helped a lot though, because I was able to increase the walls to height I liked. And then I was able to cut back afterwards, right? So I don't have to worry about going too high, because I can just be like, look at that. Now I'm flat. Then I decided, you know what? I don't like the green here. Let's make it a different color. Let's make it light blue. This will be a stand-in for something later on, different from the green. Then I paused the replay mode. I was gonna do some other stuff, make a mood board, right? To try to figure out what I'm gonna do with this build. I didn't pause it. So the time I had planned to make a mood board and figure out what I'm gonna do was recorded. By the way, here it is if you want to see what I came up with. Either way. Now this is where I messed up. See, by not recording, when I record later on to build, it didn't build. So here's a recreation of what happened. To start off with, I made a roof for the back, and then I made a sphere. I cut that sphere in half, then I copied it to paste over the building. It's the same color as the other blue for a good reason. Then I pasted the dome on the other side, created a black rim for later on. Then I rose the middle section so that it was higher than the other ones and stood out, as being the main building. Then going back off to the handy side section, I made a bigger circle, cut it in half for the dome of the main building. And then once again adding a black trim around the edges for later on. And then I literally painted on the texture, right? It's so cool. I used diorite quartz, wool, and blackstone, and I literally painted on the texture I wanted with the green wool. That's why I use green wool in the other one. It's a little bugged here, that's my bad. I messed up the command in the recreation. That was the goal. Then I did the same thing to the light blue wool on top, making it light gray stained glass. I love that light gray stained glass. And then I realized, wow, this isn't working, so I just used World Edit, paste in the correct stuff. But that's basically what happened. And now, back to the video. Now, the reason why that was such a big issue is because nothing copied over that entire time. So all the stuff that should be there, but it's not. Either way, I'm adding copper to the domes to add some more texture, and the tube in the middle. Doing that on the other dome too. Don't worry, you will see what this looks like in a little bit once I realize my mistake. Now, I really wanted copper in these four corners to go up to the top to give support kind of a vibe, which is why I did it on all three domes. Again, use your imagination here. It's not working properly because I messed up. And then for the main dome, I wanted to try something different. I wanted to see it like drip down off the sides. At first, on this side, I wanted to see if what would happen if it came all the way from the ground, looking like it was like grabbing the dome. It didn't turn out good. You'll see in a second, it just kind of looked awkward. I learned my mistake real quick. Got rid of that, and went back to the drippy effect. Kind of looked like the copper's melting off the side. I once again did that on this side. By the way, since you're here, I want to tell you guys to subscribe. That helps with the channel. Okay, thank you. Either way. And to round it off, I did the last corner. I feel like this adds another layer of detail to the domes that you can't see, obviously. Again, my bad. But it makes sense later on. Because when I go to here, bam, look at that. You can see my vibes. It's a little unpolished at this point in time. It looks a lot better once I add details later on. But I just want to show you what I was working on, what I was seeing that entire time. I'm pretty sure I used dark stain gray here. That's not important. Either way, right now I'm working on getting a door to work in like a detection system, right? I use pufferfish and pressure plates to make like a detection system when you got close enough. I had no clue what I was doing here, but I thought it would help seal the effect I was going for. So I kept going, and then I used some carpet to cover up the redstone because I am so bad at redstone. And then I'm doing the floor. Again with the other one, I want a nice sterile vibe, so I used smooth stone, kind of get that look. And I was thinking like, what can I do with this build to make it look interesting? And I thought about it. A sun. That's right. I want to make this whole thing revolve around a big sun in the middle of the dome. I tried using glowstone to make it look glowy, and I used some water, maybe like to look like it's being cooled down. Spoiler work, that didn't work. Either way, then I used yellow, red, and then the three stained glasses to make it look like the sun. Didn't like the water, replaced it with orange wool. Didn't like the orange wool, so then I'm using the paintbrush again to try to like add depth to the many colors. I had to literally dig inside because the brush wasn't hitting all the way through, and it didn't turn out good. The glowstone in the middle wasn't good. Either way, here's what it looks like on the outside, and I love it. It looks great. But I was like, you know what? How is it going to support itself? So I thought, hey, let's add these nice black, like, columns grasping at the orb, grasping at the sun, you know. We're not touching it, so that's like being like levitated kind of a vibe. It's kind of look pretty sick. I still love it. Now what I'm doing is I'm adding some lights, and I'm thickening up the base of this like hand. Then I realized, you know what this needs? It's like an alien, right, grasping at it. So what I did is, instead of making 4 of them, I made 3 of them grasping at the sun, and I made this one split off from 2 to 1 to like, I don't know. Then I added some vines, some like tentacles around the bottom, going around the middle of the facility, just to make it look more alive and less like just 3 pillars. And I use a mixture of obsidian, crying obsidian, skulk, and blackstone on the pillars to add texture. And then I'm doing whatever I did here. I'm gonna be honest, at the time I just put that as a placeholder. I just moved on. I was like, so you know what? Let's make this big square section into like the home of the monster, right? Originally, I think I was planning on this to be like a hangar for the spaceships, but I can't build a spaceship. I was running out of time, and I think this just looks cooler. So I started adding tentacles from the end, and then I started to build a big nether portal in the back. I couldn't light it. Maybe because I world edited in the obsidian, that may make sense, but I could not get it to work until this for some reason. Then I used black wool again to kind of give the portal some shape. Wow, that's mesmerizing. Sorry, anyways. Then I started making it look like it's coming out of the portal, like it's taking over the room. I think it looks amazing, honestly. Here I'm thickening up the vines from closer to the portal to away to give the feeling that he's like straining in its effort to get closer. And then of course I'm doing the same mixture I did on the other section here. Again, it just looks nice. It's a good texture vibe. And I was like, you know what, this needs something else. So I built 2 viewing areas, right? And across lines, you can't cross the line, you know, safety is #1 priority. So I built up the walls here. I added some stained glass and a desk area, some chairs. I struggled on chairs for way too long. That's the viewing area. Then I got rid of the viewing area on this side because that's lame. And instead, I made like this drill that's drilling into the vine to try to like learn about it. Then I came back to this middle area and I was like, wow, this is empty. So instead, what I did is I built a second layer closer to the sun to try to be like, oh yeah, this is how you investigate. This is how you view the sun. I'm going under the ground. That's cool. I did not plan for that. Either way, the point is like it's supposed to get closer to the sun and to the monster and view what's going on, kind of thing, like what it's trying to do with this ball of mass. But then it was hanging out by itself, so I added some random changes to the ceiling. Don't ask how the glass is supporting a big metal beam. That's not important. And then I also rounded out the edges some, so it looked a little bit more like a circle and less like a square. And it's finally time to get back to this. I still had no clue what I was going to do here. At first, I extended the base out some. And I was like, you know what? This should be a reception area, right? Let's make it like a receptionist desk and like a computer. And then I realized, why would there be receptionist at a space station on Mars or whatever? So instead, I turned this into like a study area, right? This is where the scientists all go to study. I have no clue what I was doing there. I was trying to maybe make something go to the middle, but I already had that. I don't know. And then, since again, I don't know, redstone, I used a bubble elevator to get to the top. I struggled a bit too long on trying to figure out what I was going to do there. The mangrove fences look amazing. But now we're going on to the first room. Because, I mean, this is pretty sick. You're going through the tunnel, right? Going through this sick tunnel. I built these 2 test chambers, right? One with, like, the void stuff in it. And then one with a villager at first. And then I put a stupid wandering trader who kept trying to go invisible. And it's stupid. I hate wandering trader so much. Either way, then I added a control panel and some, like, tubing between the 2 of them. I added a daylight sensor and some, like, blast furnaces to look like a drawing device, like drawing the energy out. And then I mimicked the same effect on the other side, but with a bunch of random mobs. This is what the view of a wandering villager looks like. He deserves it. And then I added a big crossbeam in the middle where like all the energy goes to, kind of a thing. And then I put some random mobs in. I don't think it matters. And then I added a desk, obviously, because this room is missing something in a desk. And then, of course, safety lines. Can't be too safe in a alien science facility thing. Either way, going to the last room, I struggled with this one for the longest time, which is why it's last. So first I was like, you know what, let me just divide it into thirds. Ish. Then I was like, wow, the smooth stone looks awful. So I placed it with whatever this brick stuff is. I forgot. Tough, baby. Then I rose the walls again like I did with the outside. Put a top over top. I don't know why I didn't use world edit here. It would have made my life so much easier. Either way. Then here I go, I started building a spiral staircase around the top, kind of a thing, to look nicer. Add some chests underneath for storage. And then I did the same thing on this side, some more chests. Now for this top area, I was like, you know what this needs? This needs a telescope, right? Which leads me to this. It's a telescope. I want to clarify, I have never built like an observatory's telescope before. So I struggled with like the lens for a little while, like, hey, well, how'd that look like? And I was like, okay, this nice gradient of copper and stemmed warp or whatever the hell it's called. Looks nice. I rose it up a little bit so it didn't look as flat. And then going down here, I built a base that goes down with a nice wood support feature, and then the beam that goes down, which you can look through. Super simple. Does it look good? No, but that's not important. Because what is important is the living quarters. I wanted to do something crazy with this one, right? I was like, I don't want another basic floor. I want like a carpeted look. So I decided, you know what? Let me touch the glazed terracotta. And let me tell you, this stuff is the worst. I think anybody who's worked with it can agree this stuff is terrible. It makes good patterns, yeah, look at this. This is beautiful. don't work with it. If you can, avoid it with all your might. By the way, then I spent way too long trying to figure out where I'm going to put beds. That didn't work, that didn't work. Okay, against the wall. That's great. Then I used some slabs and some barrels to get like a storage kind of a vibe. Then added a desk where they can like eat, they can work, and some more tables. And again, it was super simple. It's very basic, very vague. And a carpet, ease it in. And then I ended off with a kitchen. This is totally modern compared to the whole thing. Does it fit the vibe? That's up for you to decide. Either way, there's some pantries and some cabinets over on this wall. I added a furnace and a rail for the classic oven look. And of course, it's like, you know what? I didn't need to add a deep freezer. So I made this thing. We got Steve head and a butcher of meat on the end. And then I decided, you know what? Let me just float out of the ground for no reason. Okay then. Good to know. With about like an hour left on the clock, I decided, you know what? Let me make an outside, right? So what I did is I made a combination of red sand, some dirt, and then terracotta, and then orange terracotta. Made this nice like textured land. I painted it on, realized, wow, this is awful. This is gonna take way too long. So I just used ender pearls, went as far as I can to try to like just world editing, replace all the glare grass. Fun fact, the replay mod teleports its head to wherever an ender pearl lands. That was a pain in the butt. Don't do that. And then I was like, you know what, we need some mountains. It's very flat land. So I started using a sphere with the same like color texture around the base. It's a little rough, don't get me wrong. It gets better, trust me. But yeah, I decided, you know what, we just keep adding on to it. I love the mentality of if you just keep adding on to something, eventually it will start to look good. And that's what I started. I just started adding walls, added some balls on the ground to give some texture. I kept going up higher on the walls and using the sand to let the red sand fall so it looks like it's overhanging. And then add some smaller textures. I put a trim around the end of the copper to make it look better. And then on the back, I was like, you know what? With 1 minute left, I'm gonna add just some more of this monster. So it looks like it's grabbed the lab. And that's what I did here. I used black wool again so I can paint it over later. Had it wrapped around the terrain and the building to give it more shape. It's not just square. And then painted it over, and that was time. So, here's what I built in 10 hours. Oh, that was fun. We got a lot done. So the vibe I was going for this one was like immersion base. Kind of like, like, oh yes, ooh, I'm immersion. And then like at the core of the base is this big sun that's being held up by like this tentacle monster thing. I don't know. It's kind of the vibe I was going for. I'm not the best with redstone, but I feel like I did pretty okay with like the door scanner thing. We got like a workshop area just for general working. And then if you want to observe the power of the sun in the palm of your hand, you can come up here and just get a better look. I like the idea of having it like resting on top of the tentacle arm things. To be like, yeah, this thing, we are working around this thing. Like this thing was here, and we like worked around it to try to study it, kind of a vibe. I don't know, it felt natural, felt like a good vibe. Plus, if you adapt this into an actual base, you have a lot of space to work with. Then if we go over here, we got the living quarters, which is this. I did struggle a little bit with the floor, but like it's pretty cool. I feel like it's kind of trippy, kind of a vibe. Then a kitchen, obviously, with a freezer. You see nothing. Like, then we go up top. We got the telescope, and then the eye hole. Be like, oh yes, I am looking at the stars. It's not the best telescope I've ever made, but not bad. It's also the first telescope I've ever made. And then let's walk over here to this bad boy. We've got the testing chamber. So we go womp 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 womp. Do some funny movement stuff here. You deserve to be in here. Yes, you deserve to be in this too, to be tested on. I don't know. The vibe I was going for was like, hey, we extracted a bit of this monster, and we're like trying to infuse it into these all these things here to see what happens, kind of a thing. And then the XP that goes out drains into this book here. I don't know, it was a vibe. And then, of course, to end it off, we got the main thing, the coolest part of this whole build, which is this like the portal area. So we go in here, and this is like the viewing area, like oh yes, I'm taking notes. And then this is like we're drilling a late, like trying to drill into it to see what it's made of, kind of a vibe. And then not crossing the line. Go here. Then we got this monster thing that's taking over the bay. If I had more time, I would have built like spaceship or something in here that's been covered by this monster thing. No, I think it looks pretty great. Honestly, I'm pretty proud of how it turned out. But no, I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. Even though I'm not good at redstone, I'm glad I figured out how to make like face scan a door to make it feel more futuristic kind of a vibe. If only I had a mod that silenced the mobs so you couldn't hear the pufferfish go. But no, I feel like it turned out pretty good for the time that I had. Well, thanks for watching this video. Like, comment, subscribe, do all the stuff. And, as always, good luck, Godspeed, and good night.